I think a lot of people here, like in a lot of other places, they're all trying to be like everyone else, you know. And if everyone else is trying to be normal, then I'm not. I'm trying to be crazy, quote unquote crazy.
Well, there's no everybody else that, you know, we're all on the spectrum, aren't we?
That's right.
There
what
is
is
like
normal?
no normal, because it's just
what is normal?
Everything.
That's right. What is normal and what is weird? And yet there are societal norms sometimes, even the white noise that comes in, or people's raising that they create a sense of norm. And so when you don't fit on their spectrum, you know, the worry sometimes arises.
I just wanted to start this episode with a message of thanks. Thank you to everyone that chooses to listen to this podcast. By doing this, you're enabling me to reach more people so that they might learn how to unchain the pain to live a healthier, happier life. The feedback that I get from those that take action and are inspired by the show's content is incredibly rewarding. So I'd like to ask you a teeny tiny favour. You are truly able to change the course of this podcast, the types of guests I have on this show, and everything that I do by doing one simple thing. And that is simply hitting the subscribing button. The guests on this podcast are incredible because so many of you have hit that button. When I think of what I want to do this year on this show, this is fueled by the amount of you that subscribe, that tune in, and that comment on the show's content. So please keep subscribing, keep commenting. Any type of comment, please keep them coming, and keep sharing the shows that you find inspiring. I can't wait to see what this year brings for this show, for you, for my community, and for this platform. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Brain Health, Unchaining Your Pain. I'm so excited to be talking to Josh Miller, who I met only 4 days ago, I think it was, Josh. Is that right?
Wednesday. It's Saturday. So yeah, about 4 days ago.
And so I'm calling from my hotel room in the States. Josh is in the States. We met actually at the hotel complex, didn't we? Which was amazing to bump into you and get chatting. And it just so happened that we were both going to the amenclinics at the same time on the same day. And you were getting your evaluation done, and I was just about to have my second scan. So we got really chatting about it. And I'm super excited to be talking to you because this is something I'm really passionate about. Love to hear what your story is about brain health. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dr. Ruth. Yeah, no, this is very serendipitous, I think you said, and it's a perfect word. I love it.
So before we start, I'd love to know what you are passionate about in life right now.
Magic. I'm writing a book, and it's nonfiction, and yet it's a lot of the unbelievable magic that's happened to me. Like I met someone like you, totally random, a few hours before we had the same time appointment on the same day. And there's many places we could have stayed, and yet we also had breakfast at the same time. And it's just like little everyday magic, I think, that inspires our soul. It's the more we captain our ship with good intention, the more the magic finds us. And it's finding that, but finding it in a way that helps me remember all the things that is going to help me write this book I'm writing. It's been a lovely journey.
And you know, I think we had a bit more magic at the Amenclinic, didn't we? Because we got talking to Amanda, and it turned out that she is from the same place as you too.
All right. So today we play our arch rival, the Alabama Crimson Tide. We are the LSU Tigers. And I was telling you about our cathedral of football, American football that we have. It is the loudest, most ruckus place. In 1987, before our upper decks were built, our crowd caused an earthquake that registered in the geology building down the road at our university. Yes, it's the earthquake game, LSU Auburn. But we play Alabama today. And this woman, Amanda, was a Golden Girl who was like right in front of the band. They are the the ladies who are like the centerpiece of our presentation and our pageantry. And she was one of these. And they honestly prefer golden hair down there. And she does not have golden hair. So she's like a rare breed of golden girl.
She's a brunette, awesome. Isn't she?
She is a brunette. And it was amazing. And she was doing a testimonial about scans she'd had a year before. I think it was lovely.
And it was amazing. So I'd love to hear about your journey, because I know you mentioned that you've obviously been at LSU undergrad. You've taught for America for 2 years, and in Madrid, and the law school in Tucson, Arizona. You did some work in the cannabis industry for 7 years, and then you've been a kind of wandering soul.
Yeah, I have. Well, and I think I've always been a bit of a wandering soul. But yeah, I did well in school. I was one of those A+ kids, and Teach for America is a really powerful program since the early 90s, where they teach in underprivileged communities, try to send outstanding students, many of whom stay teachers their whole life, into these communities. It was great. And then I taught a year in Madrid when España won the World Cup. It was in 2010.
Wow.
And then it's Tucson, Arizona. I've Been Everywhere, Man, that song. Mentions Tucson. It's a little south of Phoenix. It's about an hour from the Mexican border, about an hour and a half. Amazing time, but I left there and I moved to Denver, and then eventually to the Northwest, to Seattle and Portland area. Mm-hmm. And I would give people cannabis licenses, business licenses. And yet during that time, like leaving law school and not taking a job that would have paid me well, when it was during the recession, a lot of people thought I was crazy. And it was the first time I think people, like more than one or two people, thought I was crazy in my life, quote unquote crazy.
Yeah.
And the 10 or 12 years since, really, that was 2013, there have been times of like highs and lows and like extended periods, and I've noticed it, and it's been noticeable.
Yeah.
And yet as I get close to 40, I've come to learn that a lot of the lows are times where I'm not loving myself, and a lot of the highs are when I really love myself. And yet I think a lot of people wondered if there was some brain chemistry things going on, and there has been some substance use. I did play soccer, football, not American football, right? European, South American football. And I played in the middle of the defense, where I would be taking, like, if we call it the goalkeeper, the goalie,
yeah.
The goalkeeper is punting the ball way up in the air. Like, I was the one most likely to take it off my head in the middle of the winter on a hard ball sometimes, So between potential head traumas and substance use and just whatever else may be going on with any of us, and whatever other toxins we know or don't know we're exposed to, people that I really love became worried about me. And I've been talking to some people during times in my past, sometimes helpful, sometimes not, but the last few years, a woman who's been very helpful, and she knows that I'd been wary of pharmaceuticals, and I got a fire that I love inside of me, and I don't want anything unnatural to steal it away, And so she recommended I go see the doctors at the amenclinics, and it was a really powerful experience. And I just know myself really well. We all live with ourselves, and only ourselves, 24/7, 365. And so, like, even if others who don't live with me all the time, had thoughts, like I wanted some confirmation that, like, I knew what I knew,
Mm-hmm.
We're all different. And when I'm back in my small town in Louisiana, where I come from, I've been all over the place. And there's a lot of people here that haven't. And I think a lot of people here, like in a lot of other places, they're all trying to be like everyone else, And if everyone else is trying to be normal, then I'm trying to be crazy, quote unquote crazy.
Well, there's no everybody else that, we're all on the spectrum, aren't we?
That's right.
There
what
is
is normal?
Like no normal, because it's just
what is normal?
Everything.
That's right. What is normal and what is weird? And yet there are societal norms sometimes, even the white noise that comes in, or people's raising, that they create a sense of norm. And so when you don't fit on their spectrum, the worry sometimes arises. But I wasn't worried. And yet I agree with you. What is normal? What is weird? There's no such thing. You can't define that.
Yeah. And when your friend, when she first introduced you to the amenclinics, what did you do? Because my journey was quite different. I think mine was quite different to yours. I kind of stumbled across Dr. Raymond at a conference and fell in love with what he was doing. So
I love it. Well, we were entering. So she is a licensed counselor. She's a psychiatrist. therapist, and I was actually, don't give away too much information. I was talking to her and also my sister. We were having a little triangular conversation. Yeah. Beautiful. And she's always we've been talking for a few years on and off, and I spent some time in Maui in between there and then some time back in Louisiana. But when the energy started coming back, you know, kind of strongly and high, we started chatting again. So about 6 months ago. And I had a few more people recommend, like, you know, some light pharmaceutical mood balancer. And so I went back to her one day and I was talking to her, and, you know, I was telling her I was open to receiving information, even if something I'd been opposed to. And she's like, you know, before we do that, I've heard of this place. Let's research it. Let's do it. And frankly, within 24 hours, like, I knew she had my best intentions in mind, and I knew she was trying to follow my wishes. And so within 24 hours, I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I really I wanted to go to Scottsdale, but I wouldn't have met you. This is why I had to be in Dallas. There were a couple of reasons, but I wanted to go to Scottsdale because it's near Phoenix, and I went to law school there and I have a lot of friends, and it would have been nice to kind of reconnect with them as all this was going on. But because of insurance and like the regional base of it, and the fact that I could potentially have some of it covered by insurance, I went to Dallas, and it took me about a week to call him. Like, I was sure it was something I wanted to do, but I wanted to study. I wanted to really find out. And then I called probably like very late September. So this was like the end of September. I called very late September. And they were able to get me in early November, and here we are.
Amazing. And what inspired you to actually go, other than your friend recommending you? Because you said you did the research. What was the thing that made you go, do you know, I'm definitely going to do this?
I think just the information, the new source of information, right? Like, it's all a journey for all of us. Like, when anybody asks any of us, who are you? Like, that's my favorite question. It's like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, right? Like, here we are. So yeah, hey, to all of you all, who are you, right? I know there's a lot of really beautiful things in here, and I know there's some things that, like, they can get a little off center, and we're all looking for balance. I am a Gemini too. I would love for the Amen Clinics.
Gemini.
Oh yeah, I would love for the Amen Clinics to like take all their data and sort it by astrological signs and years, and I bet they would find some things. Like, I really do. You know, we're all different. We're all archetypes in ways, and so if we're twins, right, the highs and lows may even come more naturally or like supernaturally than we know, right? But I wanted some information, and I was hoping it would be like kind of confirmation that, like, I am okay, and that's what I got. And also, like, we can always improve, continuous improvement. Why not? Like, keep doing the things we're doing, and yet do some things better, and let's do it better every day. And if we fail, we can try again tomorrow, right? And just the idea that, like, there could be some imaging in my brain that could provide some powerful information. And also, I think in ways I'm a superhero. Like, I think I've found some of my superpowers. And I think that storytelling and magic, I can do magic tricks too. We haven't even talked about that, but storytelling, magic tricks, and my memory is really outstanding. And so, like, I was hoping in ways they would help, like, reveal, but also confirm and help. Like, it is in ways about us finding our superpowers, what we're best at, and doing those really well. And then I think sometimes by doing those things, the best things really well, the things we aren't as good at, I think get better along the way.
Yeah. And I think for me, I wanted to get some validation about, you know, for yourself, it was the same, isn't it? Am I okay? And then for me, my view was my brain is not okay. And I wanted to get some validation as to what the state of my brain was. But getting that validation visually, and then through all the analysis that they do, I think is so powerful. So I'd love to go into your scans, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Sharing your results, and I think we'll talk through how it works, because people don't really know, for those that are listening. So the first, when we start, we have to complete a very lengthy questionnaire, which somebody that knows us also has to do, and it's quite painful, but you just have to go and get through it. And then if you have the ability to do some blood tests, but not everybody can, and send them through to the clinic. And then when you get to the clinic, you do one day, which is a resting scan. So they will inject you with a radioactive serum, which doesn't color your brain, which is what some people think, but it just helps them see the activity in your brain. And then the second day you go back and do you do concentration scan on the first day and a resting scan on the second day, and then you do a total brain analysis, which is monitoring the speed of your brain and your visual responses. And there's 4 different areas that it focuses on. Did you do anything else, Josh, for your analysis? Did you?
I didn't. No, and I think that was a great breakdown. And like for the concentration, they gave us a little, as they're giving us the IV and the injection, they're giving us a little task so that our brain is really focused. And they're scoring us there too. And I loved that total, like the law school exam here in the States, the LSAT has a logic game section. And it's really the only section where you can know whether you got the answer right or wrong. But it wasn't quite like that, but it was memory games and such, which is such my jam. I had so much fun. I was having fun. As you were getting scanned, I was having fun playing the game.
Whereas me, I was like, oh, there's somebody outside doing the grass, or I was just ping-ponging all over the place.
Oh, and I when I walked back there, they were all having a little team meeting and they like cheered me, and I was like, oh, you don't even know who you just cheered. And so I stepped in there and I dropped them a little love, and I told one of the girls, but I was telling all of them how brightly their souls shine, and they all heard it. They cheered me on.
So when you went back, you did your total brain assessment, and then you met with the psychiatrist.
Well, oh, that's right. So all right, the third day. And then, all right, so you're right. So for me, it was concentrated state and scan. And then I went, and I think I was supposed to do my total brain assessment, but I didn't. So the second day was resting scan, and they put us in a dark room. And that was kind of nice and got us relaxed.
Yeah.
And then I did a 2-hour history with someone. And then the next day I did the total brain assessment. I had a little break, and then I met with my psychiatrist, and he was great. And I don't know if there's a proper time for this, but I would like to say that like I had met with someone who's a little more old school a few years before. I'd started meeting with this more new age, we'll call her, counselor, and it was like I immediately took the DSM-5, and it provided labels in ways like I scored on that one. I scored bipolar 2, I think the less severe. And it provided labels for like even myself, and how we talk to ourselves and how we treat ourselves and how we love ourselves is very important, I think, for our brain health. Like we got to love ourselves the most so we can love other people, but also so like our bodies, our brains, our spirits stay healthy. Mm-hmm. But when I talked to my psychiatrist here, he was like, depending on how you were that day when you took that exam, like or that test, like it can vary the scores and such. And he's like, we can't snapshot diagnose anyone with anything, and yet I allowed a snapshot diagnosis, if you will, not really to control my destiny, but it did give other people, I don't want to say ammunition, but like a label they could provide. And I think that was really powerful, and not in the best ways, like not good for my brain health and not for our relationships. And yet this has given me some freedom, and it really has. And it's been really powerful. And a lot of the discussion with him was really freeing. And he recommended no pharmaceuticals and maybe a few natural supplements. But I'm happy to show these. Dr. Ruth, I guess you're going to talk about yours at another time, but I am. Very
I don't have the scans on me because they're all electronic at the moment.
Right. So I did it, so this is the healthy one for the. And they said the colors don't matter so much, but you're looking for smooth. There's not too many bumps and such. You're looking for smooth. And this is all going to be backwards for me. This is what I was talking about. So I'm just going to get used to this. And then up here in the top left corner to you all, the underside. And so this showed normal for my age group and is very similar. Sorry if I go.
Oh, we can see it. Yeah, great.
And then, all right. So here's let's do the concentrated first, because that's the first one we did. And see, this is what I was talking about, Dr. Ruth. All right. It's like flying the helicopter. All right. So if we look here in the bottom right, on top, there is a little, some of the indentions. There's about 3, 4, 5 little ones.
Yeah.
So there's minor scalloping.
Yeah.
If you look at the picture on the left, you can kind of see the indention of one of the more major ones in the yellow. And then that hole he circled in the purple part in the top left, the underside, that's something. So really the issues that were there, those were them for the most part. Otherwise, it's pretty darn smooth and it's pretty close to healthy.
Yeah.
And when we considered some of my history of substance use, looking at like the substance use fund when they're riddled with holes after looking at mine, like it just, that makes you feel good, right? Because it doesn't look like that. It looks very close to the healthy one. And then this is the resting.
Yeah.
And if you'll notice, it even seems like some of the scalloping on the top and the bottom right goes away a little.
Yeah.
And then in the top left, the underside, that hole that was there in the purple is gone in the resting.
Yeah.
And, you know, that intrigues me. And I'm not sure quite what it all means just yet. But on the outside, it did look really pretty darn healthy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, you're the doctor, Dr. Ruth. I don't know.
Well, I'm a doctor of physics, so I'll explain it from a physics perspective. That's okay. So from when they do the SPECT scans, is what they're looking at is the activity in your brain, and particularly the blood flow. So when you've got symmetrical activity or even activity, and that's what they want to be seeing, because that's normal. So they're looking at the surface activity on your brain there, making sure that there's no problems on the top of your brain or on the underside of the brain from a surface perspective. But because of the way in which they do the scanning, they can slice through all layers of your brain. So they produce a 3D image, not only of the surface of the brain, but also of the inside of the brain. And that's where some of the magic happens.
Yeah, no, and I have that here. Well, and I got to say, as far as physics and like metaphysics is gone, like all of spirituality and magic is found inside of physics and metaphysics. So you're the proper doctor. You're the best of the doctors, right? Like the Big Bang Theory, they were geniuses, right? What did they study?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, I guess we need to look at it more normal. So the inside, I do have some like it is active in places where you know, some resting may be. And again, these got a little wet today, so they actually give you pristine copies at the clinic. I was the one who damaged them. In the bottom right,
this is a normal brain. So the top left is underside of the brain, but inside. And then you've got the right side, the left side. So top right is the right side of your brain. Bottom left is the left side of your brain, but you're taking a inside view. And then the bottom right is the bottom of that picture is the back of your head. So that's looking from the top down. That's the top down view of your brain.
And the blue is not active, the red is medium activity, and the white is high activity. And like in the bottom right, at the very bottom, that's the cerebellum is where the normal has most of the activity.
So you want it to be white in the cerebellum, because that's where most of the activity happens.
Is that, you want me to put this back up, or are we good?
Oh no, you're good. That's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So my concentration, you'll see, is a little more active. So I still have activity in the cerebellum, but you'll notice like it's not quite as white, though there is the activity.
Yeah.
And then
So let's just try and explain it to people. So top left, the bottom of that picture is the cerebellum. And then if you're going top right, it's the left-hand side bottom of the picture is the cerebellum. Bottom left, it's the right-hand side bottom element is the cerebellum at the back of your head. And then the bottom right, it's the bottom section looking from the top down.
That's right. And this is also, like, I have both of them. This is the concentrated. This is the base. All right, this is the baseline.
Yeah.
And this is the concentrated.
Okay.
And yeah, they're both pretty active. And so he was that kind of in the top left on the baseline, the very far left, he kind of diagonaled it. There's a little diamond of activity in there. And it is active even resting. Though honestly, when I'm resting, I was probably singing a song or telling myself a story. Like, I don't know. And honestly, Dr. Ruth, I don't know exactly what all this means. Like, I'm happy to have any of your input. He didn't seem too worried about it, but he did notice the activity, you know?
So if you have a diamond pattern, it can mean that you've got some past emotional trauma. So you get activity in the anterior cingulate gyrus, which is at the front of your brain. You get activity in the basal ganglia and the amygdala, and then the deep limbic system, which is in the center, the thalamus area. So when you see the diamond pattern, that tends to be an indication that you've got some emotional heightened activity in your basal ganglia, which is the two elements either side of your brain where your emotions generated. Also, that's where people can get tics and things. And it just informs. It's not a diagnosis. but it will inform the psychiatrist, and that will review your history as well, as to whether that is associated with past emotional upsets. But obviously, if your history is saying I'm keep getting flashbacks and things like that, then that would be pointing towards PTSD or PTS, if you don't want to be using the D in it, post-traumatic stress.
On that note, I think I told you this, when I left law school, before I moved and started my cannabis work, I wrote the petition that added PTSD to their medical cannabis law, because you had to add specific conditions based on research, which it would take hours for me to give you the entire history of how research in the United States for cannabis is not legitimate research, because it's funded in product and money by the United States federal government, which is currently still has it illegal. So they don't necessarily look for answers; they look for the answers they want. But we used the research that was out there in 2013, and we put together a really nice petition, and it added PTS to Arizona's cannabis market, only the third state after Oregon and New Mexico. And I think some of my quote unquote my issues, or my lack of brain health at times has been associated with my cannabis use. And so, there's lots that can be said about that. And at the same time, for people who use it, it would be much better for them to use it under a regulated market where they can know what their product is, as opposed to just getting it off the black market. So regardless of thoughts on the effectiveness and the morality of cannabis, I think the fact that you can legitimize someone who has that, I think is helpful along the way. So there's some progress. It is one of the things I'm most proud about, and probably one of the craziest things I did, because we had to go fight the government and they did not want it to win, and we ended up winning. So that was cool.
So the thing with cannabis is it can calm your emotional centers down in the short term, but in the long term, it actually can make them worse, which is might be why your emotional centers are overactive. But again, it would be dependent on your whole history as to what the reasons behind that are.
And yet, without you or I knowing even the full context, that makes sense. I could see some of that. I probably suspected some of that along the way, but it's nice to hear it in words. Thank you. You're very helpful. I really appreciate it.
So what were your key takeaways from getting the scan and then getting the the detailed psychiatric evaluation? What was your key takeaways from that experience?
I think the feelings I felt were like confirmation and verification. A lot of almost everything that Dr. Makwana said to me was I was I wanted to snap along the way, and it all made sense. It all fit into the context and the story. I think some relief in ways that I haven't done anything too damaging to myself along the way, even if we can all improve. I think frankly, I've already dealt with this for the most part, but I think I did feel a little gaslit by other people, frankly, so it was nice. It was very freeing. I think the overall freeing nature of having the information, having some confirmation of what I already believed, that has been the overwhelming emotion, and it's been very powerful. And it's been very wonderful. And oh no, go ahead. Sorry, Dr. Ruth.
I was just going to say, I want to really impress on that one is the confirmation of what you believed. And that was the overwhelming emotion for me too, is that you knew we know ourselves really well. Sometimes we ignore.
Yeah, that's right.
Ourselves, right? But when we dig deep, we actually know how our brain is operating if we pay attention. And for me, it was the validation of what I knew was very overwhelming, very powerful, because I could never have got that anywhere else, in the UK.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that it was recommended to me. I'm thankful to myself for saying, let's do this, I want to know, right? Sometimes we don't want to know, right? But knowing whatever knowing is powerful, whether good, bad, however you judge it, the knowing of it is very powerful.
Yeah. And I think the key is being able to look at your brain in a way that is understandable and actionable,
Mm-hmm.
based on the recommendations that they may give you. You know, like they've said, well, if you take some supplements, that can help you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what your baseline is.
That's
So
right.
if you choose to go back and get a reassessment, you know where you started. So you know, you can test and adjust. And if you don't measure, you don't know. And if you don't measure, you don't monitor.
That's right. Well, and I
So,
think I don't know your whole story either, but I was thinking, had this been like your second or third scan, you know, I'm not sure if it had been, but like there is a power to that. I was talking to my dad about it, is that like at this point, if I ever go and do this, let's say years from now, like I have some place to start from where I was at this time in 2024. And that's powerful information too, because now you do have a baseline.
Exactly.
To work with.
Exactly. And I think the key thing for me, you know, just in terms of brain health, is we all have our own degree of brain reserve, and you got validation that your brain reserve is great.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's amazing. But some people, like me, have a depleted brain reserve because of life events. But knowing where you're at on that trajectory allows you to intervene before things become serious. And if you don't, and Alzheimer's disease, which is for me something that, you know, has always been on my mind because of previous concussions, can manifest up to 30 years before you express symptoms. So you need to understand how your brain is operating, because it's intensely costly for those that are in that group, or, you know, have been labelled with Alzheimer's disease.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know where you're at, and importantly, if you don't know what steps you can take to reverse it, and you can reverse Alzheimer's disease. So that's what I think is really important too.
Absolutely. Well, and Dr. Ruth, I don't know anything about your brain except what I know, and I think your brain's great, and you got a lovely soul too. So I think you're awesome. So you're doing the best you can. I know that.
No, so for me, my brain scan was the first one I'd had from a SPECT perspective, but previously I'd had a QEEG to look at my brain waves, and that's really helpful for people with head trauma, but it doesn't look at the inside of your brain. You only get a surface view. And I'd previously had two concussive blows, one serious when I was 21, falling off a bike when I was drunk. And I've always been concerned, because of things I can feel in my brain, in my head, that could have impacted me from a cognitive function perspective. And my scans have shown it has, so I have to take remedial action. But the key thing for me on my scans is that no food and no supplements would fix what's been discovered. So I actually have pooling of my cerebral spinal fluid on the top of my brain, which means that I've got impingement of my cerebral spinal fluid flow between my neck and my brain. And that's been caused from me smacking my head really hard and displacing the atlas orthogonal at the top of my spine. And so the only thing that will help me sort it out is mechanical realignment.
Wow.
So if you don't look, and if you don't take the right brain scan, and they don't in the UK, because MRI is lying down, you won't see it. You have to do a standing up MRI, and you have to know what you're looking for. I would never know. And this is, you know, I could have had misalignment since I was 21, which is 27 years ago.
Wow.
So, you know, the fact that I'm experiencing symptoms is in line with what they say from an Alzheimer's perspective. So really important, if you have had head trauma, to go and get it checked out with the right professional. And if you don't look, you don't know. So it's really key that you do get it checked.
Wow, Dr. Ruth. And honestly, hearing you speak, like you're asking about guests in your pre-show questions, and you know, I mentioned Amanda just because she's the third of our little triumvirate, but I have a really good friend from my hometown, and two of them actually, who have we all share a friend, and she's in Oregon, and she's had a head injury, and like, oh my gosh, like just thinking about this and listening to you, like she absolutely needs to get scanned if she hasn't already. And honestly, I think at some point she would love to talk to you, and you would
I'm
probably
more than happy to.
her. Yeah, no, she's amazing. She's a wonderful soul. She's about my age. She's awesome.
Yeah, and I think we underplay because we think we're invincible, right?
That's right. No, that's right.
We think we're invincible when we're 20. We might think we're invincible when we're 30. We get to nearly 40 and we start realizing we're not as invincible as we thought we were.
No, that's right. That's right. I am certainly.
So you need to get it checked out. But it can happen at any, like the youngest person that I've noticed it with from a client perspective, 7 years old, fell out of a tree, displaced their atlas orthogonal, and none of the doctors in the UK could find out what the problem was. So I had to consult with the amenclinics to get them the right referral treatment.
Well, I think it's amazing, like for all of the UK, if you're like the UK bridge to Amen, like thank God. Like seriously, like this is wonderful. You're doing really good work. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
So happy for you. This is great. This is great.
So back to you, Josh.
All right, back to me. We can go back
to Josh. So now you've got your results and you've got this confirmation and the validation. What is optimal brain health for you now personally?
I think it starts, and I've known this, and I think there's an amen philosophy. Like it starts with all of our health, like our physical, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, like all of that health. Absolutely. Right. Like we got to take care of ourselves. I do eat relatively well. We were talking with a 14-year-old about the FDA, the amount of crud in our food and in our processed food, and stay away from that as best as possible. And even if the government is trying to poison us actively, sleep well, eat well, exercise. And I do those things for the most part. I do like to have a variable schedule. And like my doctor talked to me about how if I have some of that hyperactivity in times, like if you don't eat at the same time each day, or you don't sleep, or even the exercise, or like the power of routine, which I love, go with the flow. But like if we don't eat on time or sleep on time, our body does release some stressor hormones. Like, let's just be kind to ourselves. And like one of my mantras in life is love yourself. And we got to love ourselves. And so brain health in ways is loving myself to me. But like one of the ways we love ourselves is in all the other facets of our life is take care of ourselves and be kind to our bodies and our souls as well.
And I love the fact that you mentioned the 4 quadrants of well-being. I call it the 4 quadrants of being a well-being warrior, which is your emotional, your physical, your mental, and your spiritual well-being. Because so many people focus on 1 or 2, but they forget the spiritual element, or they forget the mental element, or they forget the emotional element. There tends to be a big focus on the physical, but not looking at all 4 of them, because they all play, they all dance with each other, and you can't look at one in isolation. So with that in mind, let's do a quick fire questionnaire on the 5 pillars of brain health, which is the framework that I use when we look at the facts, which are your feelings, your actions, your connections, your thoughts, and your surroundings. So first one is feelings, tied into our emotions. What feeling or emotion is most important to you in life now, and why?
Love, and also like not having the opposite of love, which many people think is hate or indifference or intolerance or anger. It's fear, and it's usually fear about ourselves or fear of the other. But like love really is the overpowering emotion that has the ability to change the world. Joy too, and magic. Those things.
Yeah, I love you mentioned that, because I just spoke to Dr. Echo on my show, and she's written a book about children writing love letters and understanding the love language of your children. And how important that is, because we don't, and also understanding your own love language and understanding how much you love yourself.
That's right.
We don't take the time to reflect inward and understand, do we really love ourselves, and what does that love look like to us personally?
That's right. Well, and people like, I don't have children, but people with children or significant others or whatever, they sometimes worry so much about taking care of the others and loving the others. But like the commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. You cannot love your neighbor as you would love yourself unless you love yourself, right? Like you have to truly love yourself to really, truly love other people, like the best way you can. So it starts with yourself. It's not selfish. I wake up every day and I tell myself how much I love myself, and then I go love other people, but I got to love myself first.
I love that. Next one on the actions, because I know you've done some really exciting stuff. What's the craziest or most exciting thing you've ever done?
All right. Well, 2 answers, but skydive. Three answers, but we're not going to go into the second one. I pulled over a police officer one time, but we're not going to talk about that one. That's probably when people start to worry about me a little. Never.
But you did what?
Pulled over a law enforcement officer in Louisiana. Yeah, I did. And he was speeding in Louisiana. And like I'd been pulled over on this road for speeding. So no, hypocrisy is one of my injustice, and hypocrisy does not roll with me. All right. So I'm really writing this book has been the best. And I got to tell you, like, I've been looking for cappers, and there's certain people I've had to see like to really be able to finish writing this book. But like going to Amen, because my book is going to be out of order and manic and almost nonstop in stream of consciousness. I want it to be manic because it's a book. People can reread it all they want.
Yeah.
But like getting the information I got from Amen that I might have a little hypomania. Let's like find a way to make the waves a little smoother. Hypo, not hyper. It's been very validating for me. And so now I'm just going to try and make my book as manic as possible without having to worry about like what I don't really worry about what others think, because I think our happiness in ways directly correlated to how many ducks we give about what other people think about us, right?
Yeah.
You know, like but it's kind of given me the leash to go do what I wanted to do, and it's kind of like one of my cappers, because like now I know what I know. Let's go be as silly and crazy as we want throughout our book, you know?
Well, I love that, because I like to think that we're all sailing on an ocean of emotion, right? And some people are sailing on it, but they're right down it under in the decks, you know, and they're not at the tiller and they're not driving the boat. So they're just a victim of the waves.
That's right.
Whereas other people have been sailing on the ocean for some time, and they're very good at handling the tiller. They're focused on where they want to go. They know how to read the waves. There's going to be peaks and troughs all over the place. There's going to be some highs, some lows, some calm states. But because they're reading the waves and they know they're coming, they can do something about it, and they can steer the right course.
That's it.
So I
and
love that.
And we're all different, and we all have different energy levels, but like no one's on some perfectly flat baseline, and we all experience some up and downs, and like we all have days where it's dim. The weather is nasty today. The energies are a little lower for everyone today, even if our Tigers are playing. But like, we all get those. So just continue to love yourself, whether you're feeling good or not, and like every day is a new day, and ride the wave as it comes. You know?
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. You're awesome.
And connection to yourself, because this is all around, you know, connection, loving ourselves. We started with that. What is your most important value that guides you in life?
Well, all right. So love yourself, and we've talked about that. But like one of my mantras is, I want every day to feel like Saturday. You know, they say make every day your birthday, every day Christmas. Like every day is Saturday for me, and like. By the time I get to a Saturday like today, then it's like a real Saturday, right? But like I go around, I'm happy. I like even when I'm working, like I feel like I'm doing the capital W work instead of so many people. I feel like not waste, but like suck their lives away trying to make money and sacrificing their health and their time and their family life. And by the time they get time, at some point, their health is gone and they're spending all their money to try to recoup their health. And I feel like so many people do like a lowercase work, or feel like what they're doing is like a lowercase W work. And right now, I'm just very inspired by myself and others. And I feel like what I do is like some capital W, sharing love and magic around the world, and like it makes every day feel like Saturday, you know.
And what's your secret to the magic? How do you make magic happen each day, so each day becomes a Saturday for you?
I think trust, like the love yourself is know yourself, love yourself. But I think like once you do, like trust yourself. And so like sometimes I'm around my little hometown and I just have this feeling to go somewhere, and I have no idea why I'm going until I show up and I see somebody I hadn't seen in 20 years or something like that. But like, it seems like almost anywhere I stop along the road, any place I go, like there is some reason I went there. Like, why did I go to Dallas? I don't know. Those people are wonderful. And then on the last day, I met Dr. Ruth and a golden girl from my school, you know, like I trust it and go with it. Like walk lovingly and fearlessly into it, be authentic, be your truest self. And like, who knows what's going to happen, but it is usually truly joyful and magical for me. And so I'm just keeping it going. We own the joy train, and we just going to stay aboard. No stops. Let's keep going.
I love that. And it reminds me of my day to day. So last day that I'm here in Dallas, and I thought, well, I'll go to the shopping mall to get my family some gifts. And it was an enormous shopping mall. I must be able to find some toys that my daughter wants. And I talked to my daughter. She said, "Mummy, I really like dolls." Okay, I have to get a doll. But every single shop I looked in, there was like not suitable doll. So I wanted to get some. Is it Stetson boots?
Oh yeah.
So I went into the shop to get some boots, and I found a really lovely pair, nice. And I bought them. And I said to ladies, "Do you know of a doll shop in this mall? Because I'm running out of time."
American Girl. Was there an American Girl? Is that what you? Yeah. Oh, good.
And they said, "You've got to go to American Girl," right? And they showed me where it was, and they showed me the picture, and I'm like, "Oh,
all heaven,
I've been saved."
They're rather pricey, but no, beautiful and wonderful. And like my sister for Christmas, like my mom loved getting her these dolls and their clothes and all. They're the best dolls.
Oh my god! And I actually bought it because I just wanted to show it on like the screen. Like
they're so awesome. They're so wonderful. And like you can get her all kinds of clothes. You can get her like a little workstation. So you can get her all kinds of stuff now, and you can just order it online and have it shipped. It's so cool.
Yeah, so it's serendipity, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I was supposed to go in that shop, buy those boots, ask the question.
That's right. That's exactly right. And like I think a lot of times it is that fear. Like people are like, "Well, I don't want to do this." Like people are always like they like make it. I'm busy. I got the kids. We got like, well, I'm not going to do this for this. But like, you don't know. But like, what if you did, right? And like, so when the call's there, like, be fearless, love yourself, trust it, go with it, and see what happens. And like, that is the trick of life. That silly Netflix special, what is it? I don't know. The Secret. It's called The Secret, and like the secret is trust yourself. Like it's love yourself and trust yourself. But it's so cheesy. Like people make fun of it all the time, and yet like the message is correct. Like love yourself so much that you trust yourself that like when there's some feeling inside of here, go with it. Go with that flow and see what happens, because magic's going to be waiting.
Yeah, and we are the same this morning. I went for a park run because we have park runs in the UK and you do it in the States. And I spoke to this guy called Dave, and we just got chatting, and he said, "Oh, I've got my brother-in-law is a neurologist and he helps kids with sport and stuff." And I said, "Oh, maybe he's heard of the amenclinics." He said, "I don't know, but if I'll give him your card and get him to connect with you."
See. Well, and I think also, Dr. Ruth, I think it's a matter of perspective. And I think it still comes from the love ourselves so we have the right perspective. But like magic happens to other people, and some people see it and some people don't, and it's like recognizing the magic as part of the magic too, right? And sometimes it's tiny everyday magic, but it's like the butterfly effect, like those little everyday magics build up to real large magic.
And so I'd love to learn, because we talked about magic a lot now. What is it that your book is all about? Or are you able to share what you're writing about?
It is an out of order nonfiction journal of my life. And it is all of the most magical things. I'll give you an example of like, I lived in Maui off the grid. Like the guy above me played bagpipes at sunset, and then there was a hermit with a Buddhist temple, and he was the last on the road. And there's about 50 people in the world that know about this place on Maui, and 4 of them are from Louisiana, 2 from my tiny hometown. We were born on the same exact day. We're Gemini, so we're twins. And the other 2 are a couple, and their names are Josh and David. And my name is Joshua David. And I met them through my twin, who I met like 5 or 6 years ago. And like, I couldn't make that up. And like, it brought me to a place, about the most isolated place on earth. And I lived there 10 months, and I was a caretaker and kind of a transition between these guys and the new people. And I still keep in touch with everyone there. But it's a bunch of things like that. It's out of order because of the way it seems to flow in my head. All the chapter titles are song titles, so it's a big, long playlist. And in the footnotes, I'm going to tell the children of the day how to save the world in 50 years, but I can't get into that because like secrets, right? All secrets hide in plain sight, but like we'll get into that later. They call them the alpha generation, but they are the rainbow generation.
Oh my God.
There are prophecies about these people.
And didn't you say that you're going to everybody's going to be a superhero or something?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So like, it's true. So like, I went to law school, and I don't want people to sue me. Like, even if like, I don't, so like, I have to hide all of my people, and still tell the true stories. But yes, their characters, they're going to be superheroes. So as I describe them, I'm not even really going to describe like their appearance as much as just like what superhero I think they are, what their superpowers are, and then we're going to go from there. Because I think people will get that too. Like, they'll connect to the superhero that I'm describing, and that's been hilarious. This has been one of the funnest. It's not work at all. It's been like one of the funnest things I've ever done in my life, and I've loved it. And yes, making all my friends into superheroes are the best. There might be one or two villains too. Like, we'll see. Like, you know.
Yeah. And you talked about like going to the amenclinics. One of the things that you're really nervous about from all the previous conversations you've had with medical professionals, or some of them, was that you might diminish what you feel is your internal superpower.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is really important that we don't do that.
That's right. No, and you're right. Like, we all know ourselves the best, and like what other people it may be off-putting to them. None of us is the same. But like, if it feels like a superpower for you, like, certainly be respectful of the others in your path, and yet, like, don't let anyone put out your fire, and don't let anyone take your superpowers away. And also, like, I don't like the labels and the boxes. I think they're very restricting. And so I think I told you, like, if the box don't say genie or angel or pirate or hippie gypsy or dank leprechaun, like, you can't put me in a box. Like, if they do, that's fine. You can check the dank leprechaun box. But like, if it don't, then you can't. You know. Like,
yeah, and the only place labels are supposed to be is on clothes. So.
Amen, Dr. Ruth. Well, and food, and our food here in the States, dangerous labels on there, right?
Oh, like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I always say the label that I call myself my label is Ruth, right? That's my
right.
label.
Amen, Dr. Ruth. Well, and I think that's important for brain health too, is like, you may feel different. It may feel unnerving and uncomfortable at times, especially like to a junior high or high school student, or someone who really is trying to fit in with the crowd, right? But like, at the end of the day, none of us is the same. And that's the beauty of all of us. The reason you feel different is because you're absolutely different. We all have different experiences. We all have different raisings. We all come from a different place, and we develop different like value sets. And as long as we aren't out there being like hateful and violent, like be yourself, like be different. Yeah. Like your difference is your beauty. We got gumbo here in Louisiana, and like Louisiana truly is a special place. And like, there is a gumbo mix of people and cultures in this place that don't exist in many places. And it's really a beautiful thing.
Amazing. And with all of your experience that you now have from going to the amenclinics and the insights that you've gleaned, what would your advice be to anybody who is concerned about being labeled and someone's trying to put them in a box? What would your advice be to anybody who's in that space?
Love yourself. Trust yourself. Know that you know yourself better than anyone else. Do not let other people be the captain of your ship. If you need to go seek support and find a first mate or a little crew to help you, support you along the way, do that. But you be the captain of your ship, and you're okay. Like, even if you've been damaged along the way, like, your darkest days do not have, like, what is it? Your history does not have to be your destiny. And so, like, know that you're going to be all right.
Yeah, I love that. And you spoke some really powerful words to the 14-year-old at the clinic as well, which I loved, and also to Amanda. So
that was cool.
I love that. How can people get hold of you, Josh, and learn more about what you do, and eventually get hold of your book that you're writing?
Oh yeah, you know what? I think you're just gonna have to. I mean, I can give you my email, or would you like?
Just do your Facebook and.
Well, so if you like, and you're all overseas, Facebook. If you search Josh Miller, Alexandria, Louisiana, you'll find me. I'm dressed right now in a Guy Fawkes mask because our election here was on November 5th. So remember the 5th of November. Right?
I love that.
And I actually, writing my book has been easy in ways because I've just been doing these stream of conscious videos for years now. And they're not all in it, but like, some of the stories are definitely in it. And when I'm ready to insert them, I just go and put the microphone on, and I just let myself just talk to the microphone on Microsoft Word, and I do no work, and it writes my book. And my grammar is pretty impeccable even as I'm talking. So like it takes very little cleanup time.
And isn't that odd that you put Guy Fawkes on there as a UK individual?
I did. And I did it the day before. I did it the day before I met you, because the day before we met was the election. And then you're walking right in front of me into breakfast. And I'm like, I don't think I remember seeing this woman. And then I hear you speak at breakfast, and I almost think you have a German accent, because I didn't really hear you. Like you're speaking English, but like with a German accent. And then I walk out, and you're like, I'm like, man, where are you from? And you say, I'm from the UK. And I'm like, oh yes, you definitely are. And then we talk. And then we have the same time appointment 2 hours later at the amenclinic, and we see each other. Just that is magic. And now I'm on your podcast. This is wonderful.
Yeah,
but yeah, I didn't even think about that, Dr. Ruth, as I did the day before, because it was the 5th of November. I put the Guy Fawkes mask, because I'm a rebel at heart. Like I am a rebel at heart. And it was the day of our election, so I was like, I have to put this today. And then I meet a woman from the UK who's the brain health doctor and a podcaster the next day. Hallelujah! See, that's magic. Magic. It's in the book now. Dr. Ruth, you're in the book now. So is the Golden Girl. That's for sure.
I can't wait to read it and learn more about your amazing adventures. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've had so much fun. And I hope we get to reconnect, and that eventually I'll get to Louisiana and experience the vibe over there.
Hit me up, and we'll try to make sure the Golden Girl is here too. Oh, last thing, my book is going to be called A Unicorn Named Grace. I kind of want to call it A Unicorse Named Grace after give Bluey a little shout out, but we'll see. It's going to be one of those. Don't worry, because like the unicorn, we are all the unicorn, and yet like part of the unicorn in ourselves is the grace we can have with ourselves. Like we've all been touched by the journey. Life's not easy for anybody, perfectly easy. And so like have grace with yourself so that you can have grace with other people.
That's so important. What a great thing to finish the show on.
Thank
you, Josh, for joining me. Remember, everyone, this show is all about brain health, unchaining your pain. You're not stuck with the brain. You have the power to make it better. And Josh has been here to tell us all about his brain, which is okay, which is amazing. So
this is great. I've loved this. Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome.
Oh, I hope all your dreams come true. Genie.
I do, and I'm sure they will, because we're all talking about unicorns and being graceful with ourselves. So thank you.